Running Up the Score. You're listening to the Running Up the Score podcast. Now here's your host, Jerry Napoleonello.
All right, we're going to shoot right into our power rankings here. We skipped a week. I did do my power rankings, didn't get to post them. So when I do post these, you'll see the up and down. There's a difference in terms of, who went up, who went down, this, that, whatever. So here we go. I finally made the change that pissed everybody off because I felt like I had to. So, and it really kills me to do it. But my power rankings after week 13. Number 10 is the Baltimore Ravens. Although, I think this will be the last week that they are in my top 10. They lose Lamar Jackson to a sprained MCL. He's looked at as week to week. Their remaining schedule is Pittsburgh, at Pittsburgh, at Cleveland, Atlanta, Pittsburgh, and at Cincinnati. I've heard people say that he should just call it a season and just sit out. He has definitely, he started off the season as an MVP candidate. And lately, he just hasn't been playing well. The offense hasn't been playing well. The whole team really hasn't been playing well. So, even though they are tied with Cincinnati, I think where Cincinnati is compared to where Baltimore is, there's a huge gap now, I feel, in my head. So number 9, I have the Tennessee Titans, although they just got their brakes broke off, basically blown right off by the Eagles. And I'm going to get into the Titans after I do this, but the Tennessee Titans, they have Jacksonville home. They're at the Los Angeles Chargers. They're home against Houston, home against Dallas, and at Jacksonville. Although I don't think Jacksonville is as easy as, one would think. Jacksonville, obviously it's a division game, so, they're going to give them, a little run for their money. I wouldn't say it's a tough rest of their schedule, but I could see the way that Tennessee's been playing lately. I could see it being, a struggle fest, to say the least. So they're my number 9 team. Number 8 team, big drop, Miami Dolphins. They also got their brakes blown off by the 49ers with a third-string quarterback. That's really all I have to say about that. Number 7 is the San Francisco 49ers, that team that had their third-string quarterback he played basically the whole game. So I don't know what to think with San Francisco. To me, people are putting them like number 3 in the league. That's a little crazy, but their defense is great. They have a very good defense. And I said in the beginning of the season, this is a team that has a Super Bowl roster. They absolutely do. I changed my tune when Trey Lance got hurt because I know what Jimmy Garoppolo is all about. Now that Jimmy Garoppolo is hurt, it's definitely interesting. I will say that. Number 6, the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati Bengals are hitting their stride. and I'm going to give a little bit more info on the Cincinnati Bengals, but Cincinnati Bengals are hitting their stride, and they're going to be a tough team the rest of the season. Number 5, the Minnesota Vikings. After the loss to the Cowboys, they have come back, won 2 straight. They're 10-2, and the rest of their schedule is pretty damn easy. They are looking at Detroit, home against Indy, home against the Giants, at Green Bay, at Chicago. Number 4 is the Dallas Cowboys, 9-3. They literally went into the fourth quarter leading the Colts 21-19. When the triple zeros hit, the score was 54-19. The Dallas Cowboys are that team. Number 3 is the Buffalo Bills, 9-3. Number 2 is the Kansas City Chiefs, 9-3. And number 1, everybody's been waiting for it. I know. The Philadelphia Eagles. Now, really the only reason why the Philadelphia Eagles were put into my number 1 spot was because I felt I had to. The Kansas City Chiefs just lost to the Cincinnati Bengals. The Buffalo Bills, prior to these last 2 or 3 games, they lost 2 straight. I can't keep putting these 2 teams over a team that just keeps winning. The Philadelphia Eagles win another one. This has been the more impressive win as of late. They haven't impressed me all season. The game against Tennessee, to be honest with you, I don't think Tennessee is that good. So it's not crazy impressive. It doesn't really have me at awe that the Philadelphia Eagles were able to do that at home. So, again, this is basically because I felt I had to. And I don't even care if I upset you with that explanation. I don't give a shit. But yeah, it's just, because I felt I had to. And if Philadelphia loses a game prior to the Cowboy game, if they lose to the Giants, if they lose to the Chicago Bears, if they lose to New Orleans, if they lose again to the Giants, one of those games, I can guarantee you the Philadelphia Eagles are going to drop under my top 5. One game. I don't give a crap. Because that's how I feel about the Eagles. It's really, that's what it comes down to. I really just don't think the Eagles are that good. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. And I'm going to say that till, the cows come home. I don't care. This team is just a very gimmicky team. And I think once a team figures out their offense, and I feel as though that would be a division team or, another team that just matches up well against them. Then I just, that's when I could see them going down. The interesting news prior to me going live was the Rams claiming Baker Mayfield. I think that shows you what's going on with Matt Stafford. It looks like he'll sit out the rest of the season. Matt Stafford, to be totally honest with you, I don't know if we see him again for the rest of his career, to be honest with you. I think this might be it. Because I read an article, I guess Stafford's wife was on a podcast, or it's her podcast or something. I think her and Matt have one, or however it is. She was on a podcast and talking about, retirement, and she doesn't think that he's ready for it, though she wants him to be ready for it. And we know how influential players' wives, or just men altogether, how influential wives are to men, basically. Whatever they say goes. That's rule number one before getting married. You have to know that. So to me, we saw it. We saw what happened with Tom Brady and Giselle. I don't think that was 100% what the deal was, that he just kept coming back to play, but I think that played a role. But in terms of Matt Stafford, concussions have been a thing for him. And it's also, it's not just a concussion. The dude's got a bruised spinal cord. And to be totally honest with you, in terms of what Matt Stafford's wife went through with the brain surgeries and what have you, I think I honestly feel as though this is the last of what we saw from Matt Stafford. And if he does come back, it's probably just for one more season. Because also, we're seeing what the Los Angeles Rams are. They're not that Super Bowl team anymore. And we kind of, I don't want to say we saw this we saw this happening, what we're noticing with the Rams this season. But it was, they were all hands, they were all in going for this Super Bowl last year. Signing veterans and, bringing guys in and, basically using up all of their salary cap on, big contracts. And now we're seeing the backlash of that. Between Jalen Ramsey, Cooper Kupp, and Aaron Donald, along with Matt Stafford, it's going to be hard for them to rebuild in a quick manner. So therefore, I just feel like for Matt Stafford, maybe it is time. Maybe it is time to just hang him up. But for one guy that just does not want to hang it up at all in any way, shape, or form, Tom Brady. Now, I've said this, for the last 3 weeks, I guess, with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is a team that I feel as though they're going to be there. As crappy of a season as they have had, they're a team that they're in the worst division in the league, or at least close to the AFC South. The NFC South being this basically the same. Prior to this game yesterday, the NFC South didn't have a team over 500. So Tampa Bay, although having a crappy season, is in first place and is going to host a playoff game against a team that will probably have 5 more wins. So this is perfect for Tom Brady. But going into this Monday night game, I was watching the game. The Bucs had a really, really good first drive, yet they couldn't score. They ended up kicking a field goal. They drove right down the field. I think it was 16 plays. It was the perfect drive for them. They were doing everything. They were running the ball, passing the ball short. He had a couple of, 10-yard passes or whatever. And then something changed New Orleans started getting pressure on Tom Brady, and it was just like a stalemate, and the Saints obviously take, a big lead, 16-3. I mean, that they took that to like the 5-minute mark in the fourth quarter. So there's been, a bunch, obviously the hindsight of that game was Mark Ingram catching a pass in the flat. Literally could have went for the first down and would have iced the game, basically. And he ran out of bounds, made it a 3rd and short, and the next play was an incomplete pass. They had to punt the ball, and that started the Tom Brady comeback. The record comeback, I should say. And, there was a lot of backlash for Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram tweeted out that he was sick about it. And then Dennis Allen came out saying that Mark Ingram was hurt, and that's the reason why he ended up going out of bounds. I don't know what to think. Whatever you do think, Tom Brady has now broken the record for the most comeback wins ever, passing Peyton Manning. But that's what he does. It's what he does. You can't give him that kind of time and the ball and the chance. It's just that you just can't do it. But Tampa Bay pulls it off. They ended up winning that game, and they're on a roll. I mean, not like they're on a roll, but they're just on that pace now of they're going to be there. That's what it comes down to. They really don't have a hard schedule to end the season. And it's just going to put them on that kind of, that pace of play and that confidence that you don't want Tom Brady to have going into the playoffs with a home game. It's just, it's crazy to think, because you go into this season and you think, all right, Rams are going to be, a team to look at. The Tampa Bay Bucks are going to be a team to look at. The Green Bay Packers are always a team to look at because of Aaron Rodgers. And everything has really changed since the beginning of the season, because Tampa Bay ended up starting horribly. San Francisco loses Trey Lance, then ends up losing, and then gets Jimmy Garoppolo, to really take over and, put them back on the map. Well, I mean, put them back as a team that, like, everybody's worried about. Green Bay sucks. It's crazy. It's crazy because you can never guess what's going to happen in the NFL. But it was a huge day for a team that didn't even play, which is crazy to think about. But the Buffalo Bills, they played on Thursday against New England, pulled out the dub in that game. But it was a big game for them, mainly because the Jets lost, the Chiefs lost, and the Dolphins lost. I mean, it couldn't have gotten better than that. And you beat New England, too. So not only did you beat New England in a division game, but all the rest of the division teams also lost. Therefore, putting them in a good position in the division, first off. Then you have a team that you're fighting for the number 1 seed lose as well. It couldn't have gotten better for the Buffalo Bills. Now, in terms of the Jets, they lose to Minnesota. Mike White, I mean, I don't want to say struggled. He played okay. But to be totally honest with you, and I think he threw the ball like 57 times. And that only kind of that kind of brings up something to me, at least. because I looked back at Zach Wilson this year, and I've seen his level of play. I think he will be a decent quarterback. I think he would have been a better quarterback if he was on a different team. But in terms of, this year, okay, I looked at Zach Wilson's, stats for this season. 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. But also I was just looking at the games. And I noticed the most that they let him throw was 41 times in like a 20-point loss to New England. But other than that, I think there was one 36 attempt game, and then all the rest were between 27 and 21. I honestly think right now the Jets don't trust Zach Wilson. Because, listen, you can have a quarterback that is wild, and I think Zach Wilson is wild. But in terms of wild, you have like that gunslinger mentality that, yes, you have so much confidence in yourself that you believe you're going to make that throw, even though not many quarterbacks can make that throw. That's that gunslinger mentality. I think the Jets don't trust Zach Wilson enough because he is wild, but it's not even in confidence. Like, he just makes dumb plays. Like, it's not even like, oh, I think I can make that throw. It's just no one will be able to make that throw. Like, why did you throw that? And that's what I've noticed with Zach Wilson. So, to me, I think the Jets are in that spot where they have a playoff spot and they don't want to lose it because of wild, horrible play from their quarterback. And that's what I think. The fact that they trust Mike White enough to throw the ball 57 times against a good team in Minnesota. Minnesota's a good team. Not a great team, but they're a good team. So, Mike White threw the ball 57 times. And they only lost by, I think it was 5. I think it was 27-22. Yeah, 27-22. So, that's my feeling on Zach Wilson and the Jets. And I think they're going to ride Mike White for the time being. Again, I was still very, I don't want to say skeptical, but I was curious why they skipped over Joe Flacco. And I said this the last show that we had. But I honestly think that the Jets and Saleh really trust Mike White. And you can tell the players really do like Mike White. I mean, half of the team was walking onto the plane wearing Mike effing White on their shirt. Now, to me, that's crazy if you're Zach Wilson. Okay, hey, I'm supposed to be the franchise quarterback. I got benched because of bad play. And all the rest of my teammates are rocking my backup's t-shirt. I don't know how I would feel about that. But it's interesting. It is interesting. Also with the Chiefs. So this is another, game that the Bills loved watching. The Chiefs. Okay, now I watched all of this game. And you know what? It's that you look at it. Mahomes has that Tom Brady-esque feel. Like no matter what, you think he's going to pull it out. Joe Burrow and the Bengals are the only team that Mahomes hasn't beat. He's 0-3 against Burrow. And I thought it was interesting. They brought it up during the game, and basically all game, the Cincinnati Bengals would rush 3 guys and drop back 8. And it gave Mahomes fits. And even they did it in the playoffs as well. And they would spy Mahomes. And it works. Now, mind you, listen, having Sam Hubbard and Trey Hendrickson as your defensive ends, sending those 2 and another guy, they were getting home. They were getting home. So the fact that you're still getting pressure sending 3, yet you're still having 8 guys in coverage. I mean, I would understand it more now, but it worked in the playoffs. And the reason why I would understand it now is because, all right, he doesn't have any wide receivers other than Travis Kelce that's really going to get themselves open. I mean, you really think about it. Juju, he's not that separation type wide receiver. Marquez Valdez-Scantling is a deep threat, but he's more one-on-one kind of guy. Travis Kelce was getting doubled the whole game. Almost, I believe it was the whole first half, he didn't have a catch. And the way they got him going was like off of a screen. And the guy got 14 yards. I mean, that's what you expect out of Travis Kelce. But it's just, right now, I understand it because nobody fears their wide receivers. But they also did it last year in the playoffs when the Chiefs had Tyreek. So it's interesting. You know, it's interesting that it's like something like that is giving a quarterback as great as Mahomes is, giving him fits. Because usually, like when you look at Tom Brady's a guy that the thing that gives him fits is pressure in his face. That's what gives Tom Brady fits. And the fact that not sending pressure but putting more people in coverage is giving a quarterback as Mahomes fits as the way it is. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. And Cincinnati, and I'm surprised that not a lot of other teams are doing it against the Chiefs. It's remarkable, but I listen. You can only do so much to Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. They're going to figure it out. And I was talking about the Eagles. They finally made it into my the top spot in my power rankings. They destroy the Titans. And it's hard. It's hard for me to, I don't know. You know what it is? It's like I look at it and I know what type of quarterback Jalen Hurts is. He's not great. He's having a good season. I think the team that he has around him right now is making him look better. I also think the Titans are frauds. And I said this because you look at a team like the Titans. You look at a team like the San Francisco 49ers. Both teams had very good defenses last year. They were a team that you looked at them and they were like, all right, they're going to run the ball, they're going to play defense, and they're not going to score a lot. But their defense is going to be good enough, and their run game is going to be good enough to hold possession, to keep the other team off the field, and to stop the team from scoring. That was the Titans. That was the San Francisco 49ers. And you were not scared of their quarterbacks. No one's scared of Ryan Tannehill. No one's scared of Jimmy Garoppolo. And, their defense isn't as good anymore in Tennessee. So, they're really focusing on Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry is not having, the huge games like we're accustomed to seeing. And again, no one's scared of Ryan Tannehill. So teams are scoring big on them, and they can't do anything about it. They're not a team that is going to turn around and score 40 on you. It's just not going to happen. I mean, if we really... I would love to try to get some stats here. Team stats. Let's go Tennessee. They're 7-5 this year. So, if we're looking at statistics, team stats, they're averaging 18.3 points per game. They're 26th in the league. Their defense is still pretty good. They're only averaging 20 points against. So, it's just, look at it. Passing yards, they're 30th in the league. This is not a team that is going to blow the brakes off of a team. It's just not going to happen. In their wins, 24 points, 24 points, 21 points, 19 points, 17 points, 17 points, 27 points. The games that they lost, 20 points, 7, 22, 17, 17, 10, 10. That's just what's going to happen with Tennessee. They play a good team. So it's I don't know. I just feel as though Tennessee are, they're frauds. So do I really look at this game for the Eagles and say, wow, 35-10, they played awesome. Yeah, they played good, but that was a game that they should have played good in. That was a game that they should put 35 points on. If we're going to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles as the top team in the league, the best team in the league, the number one team in power rankings, the Tennessee Titans are a team that they should be killing. That's how it's supposed to be if you're the number one team. So am I sitting here and saying the Philadelphia Eagles, wow, what a game, what a win. They surprised the hell out of me. They had a great game. No. I'm sitting here saying the Eagles were supposed to do this. If everybody wants to talk about how good they are, this is what they're supposed to do against the Tennessee Titans. Now, a team that everybody also had so high, the Miami Dolphins. They got smacked. It started off, first play of the game, 75-yard touchdown for Miami. And I'm saying, all right, this is great because now people that were putting 49ers over teams that they shouldn't have, I was thinking, all right, this is great because the Dolphins are going to put the 49ers and everybody that were so high on them right back in their place. Because it's like, hey, stop it. They win 2 games, nicely, and now we're ready to crown them. And after that first drive, after the first play, something changed. Jimmy Garoppolo breaks his foot. Purdy comes in. Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, has now become Mr. Relevant. Because now the third-string quarterback in San Francisco is now taking over the San Francisco 49ers. And the crazy thing, now this is in terms of the hobby, sports cards. One of his autos was to $199, sold on Saturday, December 3rd, for $22. After they beat the Miami Dolphins, that same card to $199 went up to $860. Another of that card went for $700 as well. That is where timing and just pure luck comes into play when we're looking at sports cards. And this is what makes sports cards so great. I mean, how do you not sit there and say, oh my God, I have a Brock Purdy card that I didn't even know was worth $5. Now I could sell it for $800 and get that money. First of all, whoever paid that kind of money for that card is out of their damn mind. But I guess you're looking, I mean, even that was, we didn't really know Jimmy Garoppolo broke his foot for about an hour or two after the game. So I don't know if that was post Garoppolo news or pre-Garoppolo news. That's something that I would have to look into. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy because, I mean, it kind of happened to me, I guess, with the whole Bailey Zappi. You know, I ended up, breaking a box, and I pulled a Bailey Zappi card. I thought it was a Mac Jones. I got pumped. And I pulled it. It was Bailey Zappi. I was like, I don't even know who the hell this kid is. Then 2 weeks later, he's starting for the New England Patriots and wins 2 games in a row. I sold his card, which prior to that, I was looking at it was probably about a $5 card. Ended up selling it for almost $150. That's what happens. You get lucky. You end up with a card that you had no idea who the hell the kid was. You know, and obviously there's people that, will sit back and say, all right, Trey Lance, yeah, this kid's going to be good. I'm going to get his cards. It's just you take the flyer on some of these guys, and then there's also you get lucky. Whether you get into a break and you pull, say, the San Francisco 49ers. And San Francisco 49ers were a team, they were a chase team. They were. You were getting into breaks, and you were hoping to pull the San Francisco 49ers, mainly because of Trey Lance. And then, say you get into a break, and you end up getting a Brock Purdy card, and you have no idea who the hell he is. You were just hoping that you got Trey Lance. Now you have that card in your house, just sitting around. And then the next thing you know, Jimmy Garoppolo goes down with a broken foot, and Brock Purdy's in there throwing the ball 39 times or whatever it was, and beats the Dolphins, who are a top 5 team. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And to me, I mean, the one question that I guess I would like to propose is, are the Dolphins frauds? Because you look at it and it's like, all right, you're going up against a third-string quarterback. And it wasn't like, you went into halftime and you were down against San Francisco and that it's already like a tough game. A tough hill to climb because the San Francisco 49ers defense is so good, and you're already down when Jimmy Garoppolo gets hurt, and now you have to try to come back against them, and Brock Purdy just, basically manages the game to a win. That didn't happen in this game. Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt in the first quarter. And I think the craziest thing about this game was just that Kyle Shanahan did not take a step back. Like, that was the crazy thing. Something like that happens where the quarterback gets hurt. And now, you turn around and you're like, all right, now I got my backup. So now I know what he's capable of, but do I think he's capable of doing that in a game? Now. And that was the difference. That he didn't give a shit. He was like, I'm not going away from my game plan just because my quarterback got hurt. And I don't know if that says much about Brock Purdy or says about Jimmy Garoppolo. Whereas, okay, I can still do this because of who my quarterback is. Like basically, like, it doesn't matter Jimmy Garoppolo or Joe Schmo, because whatever my game plan is, it's going to work with whoever I have. And that's what I think it is, really, because Jimmy Garoppolo is not a great quarterback, and kind of, I don't even think he's that good. So, I thought it was interesting. I'm wondering, what do you guys think? Are the Dolphins frauds? Because this game had me scratching my head. And don't get me wrong, yes, the 49ers defense is very good. They're number 1 in the league. But still. Deshaun Watson made his debut. First of all, he did his time. Let's let it go. Enough. I mean, it's so annoying to see, someone on the news or, on SportsCenter or whatever it is, NFL Network, and sit there. I mean, I watched, what's her name? Ponder sit there and have this whole, like, monologue about, no one cares anymore. The guy's playing. He did his time. He did an 11-game suspension. That's it. Let it go. Whether you think he should be in the NFL or not, he's playing. Give it up. In his debut, there was a lot of rust. I mean, the guy hasn't played in 700 days or whatever it was. The defense was the difference. Defense played really well. They got them the win. Deshaun Watson did not. I was watching the game, and I was just noticing a lot of timing issues, which obviously that's with time off. You're going to see that. And also throwing the ball at guys' feet. Guys' foot. Feet. Yeah, feet. Feets. Throwing at the guy's feet. I thought that was odd, but I think you'll start to see the transition to being Deshaun Watson. I mean, he showed signs of, what we not only expect, but what we've seen from Deshaun Watson prior. Because the guy was all about, being a magician, like in the pocket, making moves and, breaking tackles and whatnot. We saw that. We saw glimpses of that. So, I mean, listen, it's good for the Browns. I think, once, because also Jacoby Brissett was playing well. He was. So obviously you're not going to start Brissett over Deshaun Watson because of what you've given up for Deshaun Watson, but yeah, so the Cleveland Browns win that game in his debut. Tell me how the Giants actually lost by tying the Washington Commanders. Now, you may say, hey, that's a tie, so it really shouldn't matter. But it does for the Giants. Because the Giants were 0-2 in the division prior to this game. The Washington Commanders, because of the win over the Eagles, were 1-2. Therefore, them tying puts Washington still ahead of the Giants. The Giants still have 2 games against the Eagles and still have one more game against Washington. Now, Washington has a bye and then plays the Giants again. So it's going to be interesting to see, but it was kind of a loss for the Giants to tie the Washington Commanders. I can see the Giants finishing last in this division. Yet they still may even make the playoffs because as of right now, it looks like all the teams in the NFC East are going to make the playoffs, which is crazy. But yeah, the division record is what is going to give the Giants an issue in terms of tiebreakers. And I wanted to talk about this last week, mainly because of watching the Lions. And I look at this team and I honestly believe that this team could be a powerhouse with the weapons that they have. DeAndre Swift, a very, very good running back. Jamal Williams, also a very, very good running back. Amon-Ra St. Brown, very, very good wide receiver. They had TJ Hawkinson, which is I'm very surprised that they made that trade. But this is a team that's putting up a lot of points. And I think their defense could make plays. Like their defense isn't great, but I think that their defense will make enough plays. Or, if they just add, some decent players here and there to that defense. And honestly, to me, they would become a powerhouse if they get a new quarterback, which is crazy because they're averaging, to me, they have to be averaging close to 25 points a game with Jared Goff, which is, wow. They're 26.3 points for. That's sixth in the NFL. Their issue is they're 32nd in points against, giving up 27 points a game. This team, I think, can be a very, very good team. And a team that, if you really look at it, can fight Minnesota for that number one seed if they get a little bit better on defense. You already see, look at Aiden Hutchinson. Aiden Hutchinson has been a beast this season. And that was the reason why he was taken number 2 in the draft. But still, it's this team could be really good. And I basically everybody that I talk to is I really, really like Dan Campbell. I've really liked Dan Campbell for a while. Even when he played for the Cowboys, he just had that mentality, that tough mentality, that gritty type of. It's perfect for a coach. And you watch Hard Knocks and you just see what he brings to that team. He just adds that grit, and the team kind of follows that. And then you have a team like the Chargers, where they have all the talent, and they just don't show it. Or they show signs of it, give you a little tease, and then it's you know what, we suck again. It's crazy to me. And I watched Sam Acho, and I'm not a big fan of his. I think he tries to say outrageous things, and it's clickbait type stuff, just for the publicity. But he said that Justin Herbert is a social media quarterback. And at the time that I saw it, I was like, this guy's an idiot. But then I really started to think about it. You know what? He may be right. Really, how many times do we see them on national television? It's not much. Now, don't get me wrong. I really like Justin Herbert. I think Justin Herbert's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And I think he just has to be more consistent. He has the ability to be a top quarterback, if not the best quarterback in the league. That I will say. But I think he was onto something saying that. Because I'm like, all right, that's a stupid way of putting it. Like, he's actually a really good quarterback. But then you watch some of the games, and you're like, all right, like, you got to make that throw. Like, what are you looking at? Like, what? Like, and then there's throws that you're like, wow, let me post that video. Like this guy is unbelievable. And that's what I think he meant by Justin Herbert being a social media quarterback. He's a guy that, makes a couple of throws a game where it's like, wow, this is unbelievable. And people talk about him, and that's all they see of Justin Herbert. They don't see the bad. So they think that this guy is unbelievable. But yet, they're losing. They're losing to the Raiders. They're losing games that they shouldn't be losing. Like, this was a team that we're like, all right, they're going to take that next step. You add Khalil Mack. You add J.C. Jackson. But then J.C. Jackson's out for the season. Joey Bosa gets hurt. The defense is not playing even nearly what we thought they were going to play. And then you look at the standings and you're like, yeah, Kansas City's there. Kansas City never changed. Tyreek Hill? No Tyreek Hill. Doesn't matter. It's frustrating, I guess. And I'm not a Chargers fan. I really like Justin Herbert, and I want him to see, I want to watch him do well because I think he can. I think he is a very good quarterback. But it's just so frustrating because you look at it and it's like Phillip Rivers all over again. And don't get me wrong. I believe Justin Herbert is better than Phillip Rivers. I think he could be better. But Phillip Rivers was a very good quarterback. Just, they couldn't do anything. And they had very, very good teams. It's frustrating. It really is frustrating. But before we get out of here, I just wanted to bring up one of the releases this week. On Friday, actually, it dropped. 2022 Panini Absolute Football. We also had Panini Flawless Collegiate, which I've been watching in breaks, and it looks like a really cool box to break. I'm not willing to spend $1,700 on a box. But in terms of Absolute has been a very good product lately, the last couple of years. They added the short print Kaboom. Oh my God. Aaron Judge just signed with the Giants. Wow. Whatever. It's not about football, so. Absolute. All right, so now you had the short print Kaboom. Ended up taking off like that. Like, everybody loves it, and it's a huge card. So they came out with it this year, and it opened at, it came out on Friday, opened at $400. Because of the demand now, it is now up to $520. Now, if you look at other products of Panini Absolute, 2021, going for $1,000. 2018 or 2020, $1,300. 2019, it was at $900, is now on sale for $600. 2018, $1,100. So 2018, Josh Allen rookie. 2021, obviously, all the quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence, all that. 2020, you have Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow and Jalen Hurts. So you understand it a little bit. So 2022 started out at 400. It's now at 520, and I have a box of it, or I will be getting a box of it on Thursday, and I will break it. I will put up the video. Hopefully I get a kaboom. But yeah, that basically that's gonna do it. And before I do get out of here, Trevor Lawrence is going to be a very, very good quarterback. And I wanted to talk about this last week because that was the game that they ended up coming up. They ended up beating the Ravens. And he looked fantastic. Inconsistent, this team, but I mean, that's just personnel. Trevor Lawrence is going to be a very, very good quarterback. I mean, one of the best. And that's the reason why his card value's up. That's the reason why he was taken number 1 in the draft. That's what you expect from Trevor Lawrence. That's what you expect from the number 1, draft pick. And the hobby, they're not wrong. It's not wrong. That's why his card value is so high. But that will do it. Odell, it seems as though the Cowboys are looking at that as it doesn't look like he'll be able to play this year, or at least till mid-January. So basically, if you're signing Odell, it would be for next year. So there's a concern there. So we'll see what happens. I'm sure we'll have an idea, or at least we'll know the news before the next show next week. But that will do it. I'm Jerry. Be breezy.
Be breezy.
And it is all over! You've been listening to Running Up the Score. We run up the score on sports radio.